To fully understand the root of this agonizing pain, and the endless chain of heartbreaking tragedies haunting Lee's life, we must look back at that horrific, stormy night. Despite the extreme danger, Jack and Tien rushed into a dilapidated bamboo shack, standing isolated at the edge of a deserted forest. They arrived just in time to rescue Lo from the devilish hands of Tien, her abusive husband. He was savagely beating her, completely ignoring the fact that she was 8 months pregnant, and very close to her due date. The image of Tien being pinned down by the local police, cold handcuffs clicking onto his wrists, as he was led away under the absolute contempt and rage of onlookers, was a well-deserved end for a heartless man. But at the same time, it sparked a breathtaking race against time. Amidst the pitch-black night, Jack and Tien held Lee's fragile, bloody body, covered in mud, rushing her into an ambulance straight toward the district hospital. When the vehicle pulled up at the entrance, a suffocating tension immediately gripped the air. Lee's stretcher was wheeled frantically into the emergency room, leaving Jack and Tien waiting in the hallway, their hearts aching with anxiety. Every single minute felt like a century. They knew that both Lo, and the innocent unborn baby, were in critical condition, hovering between life and death due to the severe trauma of the brutal beating, and the imminent risk of premature birth. The operating room door swung open. The chief doctor stepped out with a deeply grave expression, delivering a devastating blow. Lo was suffering from acute, highly dangerous internal bleeding. They had to perform an emergency surgery immediately to remove the baby, to save both mother and child. But the risks were astronomical. They might have to face the worst-case scenario. Hearing this, Tien collapsed in shock, burying her face in Jack's shoulder, sobbing uncontrollably. Meanwhile, Jack tried to maintain his composure, to sign the surgical consent form, praying that heaven would look down and protect this poor woman. For 3 agonizing hours on that cold hallway bench, Jack and Tien sat in absolute silence. The ticking of the clock, mixed with the hurried footsteps of doctors, created an invisible weight crushing their chests. Tien tightly clasped her hands in prayer, tears of anxiety rolling down her gaunt cheeks, exhausted from a sleepless night. While Lo was fighting for her life on the operating table, another intense battle of wits was unfolding at the district police station. Tien was brought into an interrogation room, under the bright, glaring lights. But with a stubborn, deceitful, and deeply ingrained patriarchal nature, the drunkard initially acted highly defiant. He refused to admit his savage violence, continuously shouting, shifting the blame, and slandering Lo as a ruined woman, who abandoned her home for another man. He claimed he was just too angry to control himself, desperately trying to downplay his crime before the law. He slammed the table and roared, claiming that, end quote, disciplining, end quote, his wife was a private family matter, and outsiders had no right to interfere. His toxic and arrogant attitude infuriated the investigators. However, the net of justice is vast and inescapable. Faced with the strict and sharp expertise of the investigators, along with undeniable evidence, gathered from past medical records, neighbor testimonies, and a systematic trail of domestic abuse previously provided by Jack and Tien, Tien was completely backed into a corner. With no way out, he finally bowed his head and confessed. He realized he was facing a severe prison sentence of 2 to 5 years, for intentionally causing injury to a pregnant woman. Understanding the gravity of the situation, and the dark future awaiting him in the district jail, Tien suddenly pulled a dramatic turnabout. From a fierce beast who feared nothing, he instantly turned into a pathetic, cowardly wreck. He wept bitterly, throwing himself to his knees, begging the police officers to let him write a letter of apology, and see Lo one last time to repent. He was desperately trying to exploit his wife and Appo's compassion. Tien's calculated drama became even more perfect, when outside the hospital, Lee's bitter mother-in-law also completely flipped her attitude. Gone was her usual arrogant, malicious face. She rushed into the maternity ward in a panicked, disheveled state, wailing and kneeling to beg in front of Tien in the hallway. The moment Lu woke up from her life-threatening surgery, the old woman immediately lunged at the bedside. She put on a crying show, wailing and pleading for Lu to show mercy, arguing that the newborn baby needed a father. She constantly lied, claiming her son had completely repented at the station, was fasting, praying, crying his eyes out, and promised to change his entire nature, even handing over all finances, if she signed a pardon. She even swore a toxic oath before the spirits of their ancestors, that if Tien ever struck Lu with a single rod again, she would personally throw him out of the house. These sweet lies and the pathetic display of the mother-in-law heavily shook Tu Li's resolve, as she lay on the bed with an emaciated body, a throbbing incision, and a crushed spirit. Lu looked at her newborn baby girl sleeping in the crib, her heart breaking at the thought of her child growing up with the stigma of a jailed father, mocked and ridiculed by society. By nature, she was a submissive, gentle rural woman. Combined with the deep compassion of a mother, she terrified herself with the thought that her child and Apo's future would be ruined if the family shattered. Driven by the sweet, deceptive vows of her mother-in-law, and a handwritten letter of fake remorse sent from Tien's cell, Lu made a fatal mistake. She softened, and nodded, signing the pardon form to give Tien a chance to turn around. Despite Jack and Tien's desperate warnings, and thorough analysis, that the violent nature of a selfish abuser would never change through empty promises, Lu still chose to protect her decision. She wanted a whole family for her child. She cried and told Tien, and quote, "I know you love me, but I cannot be heartless enough to watch my baby and Apo's father go to prison. I want to believe him one last time," end quote. The moment she was discharged, Lu hurriedly packed her things to return to that old house with her mother-in-law, hoping that the newborn child would be the sacred bond that tames a cruel man, helping her small family find peace. But life is not a dream, and Li's misplaced kindness immediately dragged her into an earthly hell, one far more terrifying and brutal than before. The baby she gave birth to, after so much pain and humiliation, was a little girl. Not the son to carry on the family line that Tien's family had desperately craved. The arrival of a baby girl was like a bucket of ice water poured over their selfish ambitions. It triggered the patriarchal and tyrannical nature of both Tien and his mother, exploding with even more fury and brutality than ever before. The moment Tien was released thanks to Li's pardon, he returned home, saw the baby girl, and his attitude flipped 180 degrees. Far from being grateful for his wife and Apo's forgiveness, he now viewed her as a thorn in his side, a criminal who shamed the family name. The mother-in-law also completely showed her true face. She continuously insulted and humiliated Lu, calling her a worthless woman who didn't and Apo's know how to give birth, producing nothing but a useless girl who wastes food, and cutting off the family lineage. Having just escaped legal trouble, Tien slid right back into his old ways, spending his days and nights in heavy drinking. Every time he stumbled home drunk and saw Lu holding the baby, his eyes burned with rage. All the anger and resentment from his arrest, he unleashed completely onto his poor wife, through beatings far more frequent and merciless than before. He dragged Lu from the bed to the floor, whipping her repeatedly with his belt, even though her postpartum surgical wound had not fully healed. Blood leaked through her thin shirt, staining her back. Lu was kept under complete house arrest in that dark, gloomy home, forbidden from stepping past the gate. Her phone was smashed by Tien to cut off all contact with the outside world, especially with Jack and Tien. Every day, she had to toil from dawn till late at night, cooking, washing, cleaning, and tending to the cattle. Meanwhile, her postpartum body received not a single day of rest or proper nutrition. Her meals consisted of nothing but a bowl of cold rice soaked in plain water, with a few wild herbs picked from the garden. Worst of all, the physical agony was nothing compared to the continuous psychological torture. The mother-in-law constantly tried to isolate Lu from her baby. She forbade her from holding or breastfeeding the child, claiming the milk of a traitorous woman was toxic. This left the baby screaming in hunger, while the young mother and Appo's heart tore into pieces in utter helplessness. The endless pain, humiliation, and absolute isolation pushed Lu into a severe and critical state of postpartum depression. She became mute and withdrawn, not uttering a single word all day. Her lifeless, sunken eyes stared blankly into space, at the stained, peeling walls. Occasionally, she would smile to herself unconsciously, a vacant, bitter smile. Right after, she would grab her baby and hide in the darkest corner of the room, trembling and weeping silently. She was consumed by the paranoia that Tien was standing outside the door with a knife, ready to rush in and kill them both. The profound depression completely destroyed both her body and soul, turning a once gentle, enduring girl into a living ghost trapped in an earthly hell. During that entire time, at the faraway farm, Jack and Tien were constantly worried about Lu. They called many times, but the phone was always unreachable. They planned to visit, but were overwhelmed by a massive sweet pineapple harvest, and renovations on the workers' and Appo's housing. Until one day, when the workload finally eased, a restless intuition warned them that something was terribly wrong. Jack decided to start the truck, taking Tien along with milk, new clothes for the baby, some gifts, and health supplements, returning to the old village to visit Lu after weeks of total silence. When the truck stopped in front of the old, decaying wooden gate of Tien's house, a chilling silence hung over the space. Weeds grew wildly everywhere, and the main house was tightly shut, looking completely abandoned. Jack and Tien held hands and walked quietly into the yard, their hearts racing with anxiety. Walking around to the ruined back porch, where a leaking thatch roof sheltered a crude, old bamboo bed, the two of them were completely frozen. They were shocked and shaken to their very souls by the sight before them. Lu was now nothing but a ghost of her former self, so emaciated that her ribs protruded. Her old, ragged clothes hung loosely, covered in dirt. Her face was gaunt and pale, covered in a web of new wounds overlapping old scars, with dark purple bruises on her cheeks, and a long, unhealed scar on her forehead. She was sitting curled up, pressed deep into a filthy corner of the wall. Her arms tightly clutched the baby, who was crying relentlessly from hunger. Lee's eyes were completely wild, vacant, filled with absolute panic and terror as she heard footsteps approaching. The profound depression and severe psychological trauma had wiped out her ability to recognize even the very saviors who had once rescued her from death. As Tien stepped closer, Lu let out a piercing shriek. She held her baby tight and kicked wildly into the air, muttering meaningless pleas in absolute panic. And quote, Don and Appo's, beat me. I and Appo's, am sorry. I was wrong. Don and Appo's, take my baby away. Tien, I beg you, end quote. Witnessing Lee's ultimate, cruel tragedy, the fire of rage and resentment inside Jack's heart erupted fiercely once again. He clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. His eyes stared straight at the main house with cold, absolute resolve. He swore that this time, he would never forgive that monster again. Meanwhile, Tien could not hold back the agonizing pain clawing at her heart. Tears streamed down, blurring her entire face. Ignoring Lee's panicked resistance, she rushed forward, kneeling down to tightly embrace her sister and Appo's frail, violently trembling body. She sobbed heavily, continuously calling Lu and Appo's name to awaken a spark of trust in the poor girl. And quote, Lu, it and Appo's sister Tien. Jack and I are back to visit you. Look at me closely, no one is going to beat you anymore. We are here to take you away from this hell. Stay strong, my sister, end quote. The warmth of Tien's embrace and her love-filled tears seemed to touch a small, frozen corner of Lee's consciousness. She stopped struggling, but her eyes remained bewildered, filled with tears, staring into Tien's face. The massive, grueling question hanging over them now is, What will Jack and Tien do next to rescue this poor young mother completely? What drastic, unyielding measures, both legally and practically, will they take to confront the malice and brutality of Tien and his mother? How will they demand justice, and secure sole custody of the child for Lu? And more importantly, how will they heal a psychological wound so deep, restoring sanity and a smile to Lu, when she has completely lost her faith in life, and fallen into the abyss of this cruel postpartum depression? All of this will unfold an arduous journey, filled with tears and challenges that will test the absolute resolve of Jack and Tien in the days to come.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình mang tới một video về câu chuyện của Tien và Jack. Bây giờ thì mình vẫn đang đặt tên cho video thôi. Mình đang đặt tên video và mình không tìm được cái tên video nào để nó có thể mô tả được hết câu chuyện của video này, nên là mình sẽ lấy tạm một cái video, một cái tên. Hy vọng là mọi người xem đến cuối video thì sẽ cảm thấy video hay và để lại ý kiến đóng góp giúp cho mình nha, cũng như là ủng hộ kênh mình bằng cách like video. Cảm ơn mọi người rất nhiều. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người trong những video sau. Nhớ đón xem những video tiếp theo trên kênh mình nhé. Tạm biệt.